consumers you are trying to reach. 97.3 ESPN is the most listened to sports source in all of South Jersey. That's what makes 97.3 ESPN such a powerful station for your business's message. So this Eagles season, don't have your business sitting on the sidelines. Be a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season on 97.3 ESPN. To be a part of the Eagles season, call Market President Mike Rubel at 609-910-5249.
Sports is what we do.
You're in your car, you're in your house, you're wherever you are. You're a sports fan.
97.3 ESPN.
Because if you weren't a sports fan, you wouldn't be listening.
WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Hump Day Wednesday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you as we are counting down the days. The Eagles preseason game number 1 this Saturday. Mel Reese and Mike Quick on the call on 97.3 ESPN Plus. Phillies split their doubleheader last night. We will get into all that and more this hour. It's a Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg is back coming up in less than 20 minutes from now to get more into the Eagles and the Phillies. As always, you can join the conversation as well at 609-403-0973. That is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We got to start with the Phillies starting lineup because, I was joking on social media about, the lineup previously. We've all been talking about, the Phillies lineup, right? The conversation has been off and on about should Schwarber be the leadoff hitter? And I joked yesterday because when the lineup came out yesterday, that was odd, right? The game 2 lineup where, you benched Real Muto and you benched Bohm for game 2 and you stuck Castellanos in the 2-hole and Castro at third and Stubbs at catcher. It felt like, all right, we're getting a little nuts. It's like the line from the Batman movie with Michael Keaton where he yells at the Joker as Bruce Wayne. You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts, with the poker in his hand that he used for the fireplace. Well, today's lineup is even more nuts. And with Turner at the top of the lineup, Bohm 2, Harper 3, Castellanos 4, Realmuto 5, Castro playing second for Stott at 6, Weston Wilson getting his first major league start in the 7 spot. Somewhere I believe Steven Ventnor is rejoicing and taking shots for that. Edmundo Sosa is 8 and Rojas is 9. It's obvious that the Phillies, what they're doing to me is they're less concerned about winning every single game as they are about trying to make sure that their guys are in the best physical condition to survive the remainder of this season. And here's why I say that. You don't go with a 6-man rotation if you are not serious about trying to keep the wear and tear off of your guys in the rotation and in the bullpen as well, by the way. They're doing the same thing with this lineup. It's obvious to me that Turner being a DH, Schwarber finally getting a day off, and basically putting a bunch of randos into the lineup, and we'll get to those randos in just a minute. Putting all these guys into the lineup is another opportunity for them to basically see what they got when it comes to the depth of this team, this organization. Look, you're not going to see a Weston Wilson or a Rodolfo Castro starting any significant playoff games. If you are, you're in a deep, deep hole of trouble. But it's an opportunity for the organization to give the Schwarbers or last night Bohm days off. And I think that is so important for this team. it's not about getting Schwarber and Turner into the leadoff spot. It's about the idea of giving these guys some days off, getting the bench bats into the lineup to get them some reps and just see what they can do. Now, some of you out there who are not somebody who sits there and watches minor league baseball every day, you might be asking, who on earth is Weston Wilson? Well, Weston Wilson is a guy who's hung around the Phillies minor league system for a little while now. He has played for other organizational systems in the past. He was originally drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers. I think it was 2016, if my mind remembers correctly. Forgive me if I don't remember the Brewers' entire draft class from years ago, but I know he was drafted by the Brewers. I believe it was 2016. And he's a guy who has been looked at as a potential player for the Phillies eventually. Now, the problem is when you get a guy like Weston Wilson, you're getting a guy who he's already kind of far along as a minor league player, right? You're talking about someone who is almost 30 years old. He's almost 30 years old, and he's getting his first major league start. So he's obviously good enough to hang around the minor leagues, but has not been deemed good enough by multiple organizations to get out of the minor leagues. But this year in the minors, we have to give him credit. He has 25 home runs in 100 games. So every 4 games, he's hitting a home run. The problem is that he has 113 strikeouts in those 100 games, and he has a 260 batting average in AAA. And typically, if you are somebody who plays at a certain level in AAA, you won't get past a certain level in the major leagues. That's kind of the projection system that a lot of people prefer to use. So it'll be interesting to see, is this a one-off for Wilson? Does he get some more opportunities down the stretch of the season? We're going to find out. But we already know that Rojas is a guy who actually skipped from AA to the major leagues. Wilson has been at AAA now for 3 straight years in 2 different organizations. Meanwhile, Rojas jumped him all the way to the majors. So again, it gives you a perspective of who this Weston Wilson is. Weston Wilson is a guy who realistically might not be as good of a prospect or a player as Johan Rojas is. Because as I said, Rojas is a guy who went from AA to the major leagues. That almost never happens. So that gives you an idea of the difference between Rojas and Wilson. Rojas is a guy the Phillies organization thinks very highly of, and a guy like Wilson is somebody who they're curious to see if at 29 years old he can actually do anything in the majors. But the larger picture is it's good to see the Phillies are giving guys days off. That's one of my biggest takeaways from this lineup shakeup. Now, I see Jeff from Ocean City chiming in at 609-403-0973, where you can join the conversation with the show. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. He says, Josh, how do you feel about Turner bouncing all over the lineup? It was fun listening to you and Mike talk about conference realignment today. It's Jeff and saying, oh, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you listening. Yeah, for those of you here on the Sports Bash, me and Mike Gill were kind of pitching around the idea if we had control of college football, how we would rearrange the football conferences. But back to Trey Turner, I think Turner feels like, he's just trying to do whatever he can for the organization. I think that we as fans and we in the media, we care more about the lineup sometimes than some of the players do. I think there are certain players who are very particular about where they hit in the lineup. Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, they're probably the 2 guys on this team who are very particular. You go back to the 2008-2009 Phillies, it was a very set, structured lineup that they had where Rollins was in his slot and Utley and Howard were in their slots and Ruiz was in his slot. But through baseball history, we have this perception of what a lineup is supposed to be, but we don't look at baseball the way maybe baseball players always look at it. Because for me, I think a baseball player says, I'm more concerned about if where I'm hitting is benefiting me and the team than a baseball player is going to get up there and say, I never want to bat in this slot or else. I think Trey Turner understands that it doesn't matter if he gets 1, 2, 5, 3, 6, 9, that as long as he is contributing to this team, he's probably going to feel better about himself. And I'm assuming that the organization said, look, if we're going to give both Schwarber and Stott a day off, we have to feel good enough about Trey Turner that he can go out there and be a leadoff hitter and it's not going to negatively affect him. And then making him a DH takes him out of the field for a day to give his hands and feet a little bit of an extra rest and let him just focus on hitting. I think the part that we don't talk about enough as sports fans is that the lineup is of no consequence after the first inning. Once the first inning of a baseball game is done, it doesn't matter who the leadoff hitter is. Because once the leadoff hitter gets that first at bat, they're never a leadoff hitter ever again. You're never leading off a game ever again. So we forget that, people love to point to, a guy like Ricky Henderson, all right? Ricky Henderson, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, the all-time stolen base leader in Major League Baseball history. The dude's one of the greatest players of all time. He is a legend. Well, the year he won MVP, and you go back and look at that lineup, all right, Ricky Henderson won the MVP, right? You're thinking about it as, hey, that team was coming off of a World Series win. They got back to the World Series that year. He was a great talent. Well, just because he was leading off was not the biggest part of the conversation. It was the guys at the bottom of the lineup, like a Walt Weiss, getting on base ahead of him. That was also important because Henderson that year was also becoming a guy you could depend on with runners in scoring position. He became a guy that you could look to and you knew that you trusted him with the bat in his hand. And Ricky Henderson was never a great RBI guy because baseball back then didn't build lineups exclusively for hitting around, but the idea being that if Walt Weiss got on base, now you have a guy to take attention away from Ricky Henderson at the top of the lineup. And Walt Weiss himself wasn't some elite, I'm going to get on base guy. But Walt Weiss's on base percentage was almost 340 the year Ricky Henderson won the MVP. Do we consider that a coincidence? I certainly don't. So baseball has a long history of, we look at the leadoff hitter as it should be a certain prototype. But I think the problem is that we as fans and as people with a microphone like myself, we have these presumptuous attitudes toward a lineup, and we forget that Jackie Robinson at one point was a cleanup hitter for the Dodgers. Nobody thinks of Jackie Robinson as some elite RBI man. He wasn't this guy who was hitting for a ton of power. But Jackie Robinson, for all the stolen bases he had, was a good hitter, not just a on-base guy. He was a very good hitter, led the league in batting average. And you're talking about a Dodgers team that had a ton of talent on it. And so they looked at Jackie Robinson and says, this guy's batting average year in and year out is so worth it to us to make sure that he is in a position to make the rest of the team better. That we're going to go out there and not ask him to be just a leadoff hitter or just an on-base guy. They asked Jackie Robinson to be a guy who also drove in runs. So when you have Roy Campanella behind Jackie Robinson. Jackie's getting on base so Campanella can hit him in. But you have a guy like Pee Wee Reese at the top of the lineup ahead of Jackie Robinson so Jackie can hit him in. So it was a layered lineup. So I think that we as fans sometimes get so hung up on who the leadoff hitter is. And I don't know if the players ever get as hung up on that necessarily. I think sometimes we look at the hitters and look at the lineup at the beginning of the game and forget about how it is later in the game. All right, coming up in a bit, we'll get to Pat in Summers Point as well as George in Summers Point. Two Summers Point guys chiming in on the text board at 609-403-0973. But coming up next, Dave Weinberg joins us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Hi, this is Billy Schwein from The Locker Room. Join me, former Chief of the Longport Beach Patrol, Dan Adams, and former lieutenants from the Ocean City Beach Patrol, John McShane and Jack Brooks, this Friday for 97.3 ESPN's live coverage of the 2023 South Jersey Lifeguard Championships from the beach in Margate.
97.3 ESPN's live coverage of the South Jersey Lifeguard Championships is being brought to you by McCann Realtors of Sea Isle City. Experience the McCann difference. Family owned since 1939. The famous Dino's Subs and Pizza Margate opened since 1964, located at 8016 Ventnor Avenue in Margate. The 7th and 11th Street Bikes, Surrey, and Beach Rentals of Ocean City, open 7 days a week. And by Blitz's Market, located at 21st and Asbury in Ocean City, voted Best Deli 7 years running, now serving freshly squeezed orange juice. Live coverage of the South Jersey Lifeguard Championships this Friday at 6 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN.
DQ presents how to fancy up any occasion. Step 1, grab the caramel fudge cheesecake blizzard from DQ. Step 2, break out your fanciest sweatpants and park yourself in your comfiest chair. Step 3, kick back and bask in the luxury of salted caramel, rich fudge, and decadent cheesecake pieces blended in world-famous DQ soft serve. Fancy? Achieved. No formal wear required. DQ. Happy tastes good.
Staples has big savings on everything you need for back to school or stocking up the office. Save on all your school essentials from notebooks to markers. Save on everything you need for travel, like luggage, portable tech, and travel-size personal items. Plus, save on signs, banners, and posters from Staples print and marketing services. And now at Staples, you can save even more with 50% back in rewards on your print order. Get everything for the office and the classroom for less at Staples. Ends 8/12. Rewards members only. Rewards redeemable in-store only. See associate for details.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text ROCK to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text ROCK to 321321. That's ROCK to 321321.
So you're in the middle of a kitchen update, and you can't tell if that's a faucet stem or a flange. With the Home Depot app, doing doesn't miss a beat. It'll find what you need in a snap, and it'll show you how to find it in store with a tap. Or get it delivered free. For doing that doesn't stop, download the Home Depot app. It's made for doing.
Hey y'all, my name is Tiara, and a little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A spicy chicken biscuit is that it has the perfect amount of spice to jumpstart my day. Whoever thought of it, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Robert, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A spicy chicken biscuit is the biscuit. It reminds me of my grandma's homemade biscuit. It's always buttery and savory. Then you add the spices, instant classic.
Order the spicy chicken biscuit on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real Chick-fil-A guests paid for their testimonials.
Hey, this is Josh from 97.3 ESPN. If your air conditioning isn't keeping you cool, or if you're worried about sky-high electric bills, I recommend you call Jenkins Plumbing and Heating today about a new system from American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning or a Mitsubishi ductless system. Take advantage of financing of up to $15,000 from South Jersey Gas or Atlantic City Electric. New AC system can save you 25 to 35% on your AC bill. Call Jenkins at 609-641-6440, online at jenkinsandsons.com.
Game with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Oh, a little football news to get here for Dave Weinberg. Former Eagles running back Jason Huntley has found a new home. He's now playing for the Colts because, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Kareem Hunt and the Colts couldn't come to an agreement on a contract. And apparently, Hunt says he wants to keep dating. I mean, checking out the market to see who else is interested in him. So poor Jason Huntley was the Colts' backup plan for their first preseason game. Hey, Jonathan Taylor, he's rehabbing, quote unquote, his ankle, but he's not in the building to rehab his ankle. We couldn't get Kareem Hunt, so let's go get former Eagles running back Jason Huntley because we need somebody to play in that first preseason game, and somebody who knows very well how that we need somebody to play in the game works is Dave Weinberg, who covered the Eagles for almost 30 years. Eagles training camps. He joins me right now for a Weinberg Wednesday on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, welcome back. I'm sure you know how we need a body for the game works very well.
Oh yeah, very, very much so. Yep. And you know what? They should have signed Wes Hills, the kid from Wildwood High. He had a great year with the USFL. New Orleans Breakers, was a leading rusher in the league. So why not give him a chance?
Maybe because Jason Huntley is a better agent. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. That's true.
I mean, like, you know what's funny? I just reminded me. I watched the Johnny Manziel documentary last night on Netflix, the Untold documentary, and just the agent explaining all of the stuff, we'll call it, that he went through to get Johnny Manziel drafted in the first round. It just makes you wonder if that guy did all of that to get Johnny Manziel drafted. What are some of these other agents not doing to get their guys even looked at? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough, that's a tough job to have, being an agent. I mean, I'm sure you get compensated very well, but you got to work hard. I mean, it's maybe not quite as much as like before when, everybody was holding out for contracts and that kind of stuff. That made it a really difficult job to do. You had Drew Rosenhaus showing up with TO and training camp dressed in, fatigue, combat fatigues and stuff like that. That stuff doesn't happen as much, but that's a very high pressure, high profile, very tough job. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, honestly.
I don't know. I've always been conflicted on the agent thing. I think sometimes it might be, you know what the problem is? I know the reality of the job, but I still have Jerry Maguire back in my mind, watching that years ago. So, but I digress. So Dave, Eagles.
Show me the money.
Yeah, show me the money. Dave, with this.
Let
this
me
Saturday.
help you. Let me help you.
Yes. Cuba Gooding Jr., he was wild in that movie. Absolutely.
Yep.
So this Saturday, first Eagles preseason game. Dave Weinberg, you wrote about it in your extra point column, some of the things that you're looking for at 97.3 ESPN.com. But talk to me about, when you sit down and look at that game for however long you sustain to actually make it through that game, what are you looking for?
Well, the beauty of it is I don't have to watch it anymore. So I will casually tune in for probably the first half. And just looking for some of the younger guys, see if they can stand out a little bit. I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, as a matter of fact, about whether the starters should play. And maybe a series, but that's all. I mean, there's really no reason to have Jalen Hurts out there or Devontae Smith or or Brandon Graham, any of those guys. Just they're going to be ready to play come September, and just 12th or whatever it is, 14th. I don't know what it is, but anyway, they don't need to be playing a preseason game in the middle of or in early August to prove themselves. That's for the the late round draft picks, the rookies or the free agents, those kind of guys. Guys trying to make a roster spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of those guys who are trying to make a roster spot are two players who just got signed earlier this week. The Eagles looking for more linebacker depth, Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham. And the Eagles are saying, Dave, hey, this isn't about Kobe Dean. This isn't a Kobe Dean job. This is about the guys who are not in a Kobe Dean.
Right, Nicholas Morrow, those guys, yeah.
And it has to make you wonder, and Dave, you've covered a lot of training camps. How bad is Nicholas Morrow and these other guys that they had to bring in two dudes off the street?
Yeah, usually, and by as a rule of thumb, they usually they wait to do that kind of stuff. Give those guys a couple preseason games to see if they can handle the job before you go out and get any veterans to fill that role. But evidently, I guess Morrow and everybody else just I guess he's just been struggling, and that's pretty evident by the moves that they made.
Yeah, it's just such a strange timing to me, Dave.
It is absolutely.
And I just got to think, because I know Brandon Graham was saying in an interview during one of those training camp shows that I think it was with Kay Adams, actually. He was saying that Sean Desai has been really turning up the juice at practice and really trying to get these guys full throttle, learning the playbook and, executing at a high level. And it just has to make you wonder if Brandon Graham is saying that, and Graham's fine. He knows what he's supposed to do, but maybe some of these other guys, maybe they're not really catching on, and maybe Desai went to Sirianni or Howie Roseman. It's like, dude, you got to get me somebody else.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. Yeah, they don't have a whole lot of holes, and expectations are very high for this team, so you can't afford to fall behind and struggle, or someone else they're gonna find somebody else to take your spot. I noticed yesterday, I was reading somebody's column about Derek Barnett tried to get in a fight with Landon Dickerson. Yes. What are you thinking? You'll get pulverized by that guy.
Dickerson is almost 100 pounds more than Derek Barnett.
Oh my gosh! And I'm surprised he threw him to the ground. He must have tripped him. He must have tripped on the turf or something, because there's no way that Derek Barnett's putting Landon Dickerson on the ground, unless it's strictly by mistake or off balance or something. But to try to want to fight him, you got to be out of your mind.
Yeah, unless Derek Barnett is really good at judo or something, I remember Brandon Brooks. Remember Brandon Brooks was doing the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu years ago.
Yep,
so, I don't know. Maybe Barnett took up, judo in the offseason. But unless that happened, you're right. It's got to be an accident that Dickerson went down, because Dickerson is a 6'6", 340-pound country boy.
Monster.
The stories are about him that he learned how to be strong working on a farm and stuff.
Right.
He's not a normal dude you just run into in a football practice.
No, he's been carrying bales of hay since he was 5 years old or something. Yeah, it's and by the way, speaking of Barnett, it seems I'm going to be I'm wondering if he's going to make the team now. It sounds like he's not having a very good camp, and I don't know if his margin of error is very big. Considering all he's been through, I know he's rehabbing a knee injury, but if he doesn't get off to a strong start, or maybe he'll have the end of the preseason to show his stuff. I don't know what his rehab progress has been like, but I'll be a little bit surprised if he makes the team at this point.
The only thing that's going in his favor is not like they have a ton of defensive ends. So maybe they, it's Brandon Graham, you have Josh Sweat, and then the main pass rusher, Reddick, is actually more of a overhang linebacker blitzer, and so is Nolan Smith. So do they look at Barnett as just a guy who could play special teams and fill a roster spot, or can they get someone for example, I'm just throwing out a name, a Teron Jackson who they brought back, or a Janarius Robinson to do that role?
Yeah, I think that might be the way to go. I don't know. I'm just not a big Derek Barnett guy. I think he's had multiple opportunities to show what he can do, and aside from recovering Branham's strip sack in the Super Bowl, he really hasn't done much, especially for a first round pick.
No,
I think it might be. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say he's more famous for his penalties than he is for his play.
Yeah, that was kind of like the joke, oh, now it's Derek Barnett again getting in a fight or getting in personal foul or something. He's always doing something wrong. I don't know. I just don't.
That goes back to the famous, remember Nick Sirianni was caught on, what was it, Sunday Night Football, saying it's him again, you know?
Yep.
But obviously, I censored it a little bit because Sirianni threw a curse word in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even the coaches being like, it's him. He's the guy who commits all the bad.
Yep.
It's just so ridiculous. And now he's trying to get in a fight with Landon Dickerson. It's like, yeah, man, maybe he wants to get cut. Maybe he wants to get out. Like there's always those stories about like guys. I remember it was Trey Thomas told the story about he was at training camp one time and it wasn't him, it was somebody else on the team came in with it like a partial injury and they kind of like they came to camp to like finish the injury off so the team could like put them on the injured list. And it was like, like they had like a bad hamstring and like they like did a sprint really hard and like it popped basically. And
gosh, yeah. All right.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, maybe Barnett's trying to be like, hey, I'm gonna make you like get rid of me. Like I'm gonna make you like be done with me kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I would think he's one of the guys that really, do you know, is he ready to play? I don't know if he is or not, but if he is, he better.
He's practicing, so I
guess I would think he might be one of those guys where the Eagles might behoove them to play him a lot in the preseason, only to maybe increase his market value if you can. Maybe somebody be intrigued enough to give you a late round pick or something for him. That might be a way to go with him.
Or maybe it's an opportunity for you to dump. Hey, take my guy I don't want. I'll take your guy you don't want kind of trade.
Yeah, that could be. Yep, that happens. That's happened before. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on the Elite Acura Hotline. Josh Hennig on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, speaking of the Eagles, I did want to ask you as well, one of the comments that's been made, because I was watching, I like to hear from the players, hear some of their conversations. One of the concerns I've had is about Cam Jurgens playing guard. And I thought it was interesting. Lane Johnson, Nick Sirianni can compliment the guy all he wants. And you're kind of just like, how it is. When the head coach talks well about a guy, you don't know how serious to take the coach, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. He'll never badmouth.
But Lane Johnson came out unequivocally and was just like, oh, yeah, this guy came in way stronger. He's way better than I expected. And he said it like so flippantly, like, everybody should, know what I'm seeing kind of thing. And then he kind of throws in there, oh, this guy is bench pressing way more than he did even last year, and like, Lane works out like a fiend. So, if Lane's complimenting somebody's strength, I feel a little better about Jurgens at right guard now that I heard Lane compliment him.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And Steen apparently has really impressed people too. Apparently that guy can play. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out in training camp. Whether you got to figure Jurgens is the first guy to get the shot at it. But if he winds up struggling for whatever reason, I think they're pretty high on Steen as well.
Yeah, the big thing with Steen is that he's just never played guard before.
Correct,
he played a lot of tackle in college, but you would think if you ended up at Alabama and Vanderbilt in your college career, you're not stupid. So you should be able to figure out how to play in the NFL.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yep. If you're an offensive lineman, you should be able to pretty much figure out where to go, no matter where they put you, I would think. Your body type and that kind of stuff kind of lends itself to different positions. The athletic guys are generally the left tackles, right tackles. But I would think like when it comes to learning the offense, I think they're pretty much learning every position. And you got the best offensive line coach in the NFL and Jeff Stoutland. So, I'm sure he'll be able to catch everybody up to speed.
Dave, I want to flip over to the Phillies because, ever since Trey Turner was applauded by the fans on Friday night, he is going out there and had basically, I think it's 6 or 7 RBI in the last 5 games. He has 4 straight games with a double in every game. He hasn't had an error in the last 5 games. And then he buys billboards thanking the fans all over Philadelphia. Like, what is your take on this Trey Turner situation?
Yeah, he's doing all the right things, and I'm glad that he didn't sulk, he didn't complain, he didn't mope. maybe he did on the inside, privately, but he's playing. He knows how to play the game both on the field and off the field, and for him to thank the fans was a really classy move. And he's too good of a player, Josh, to struggle for an entire season. Granted, he's never been this bad before, but I was kind of confident that he'd find his way out. I think he's just too good not to. And it's good to see him finally working his way out and then being a contributor to the offense and defense.
Dave, I've said I don't need Trey Turner at this point in the season to be the Trey Turner, the best.
Right.
I just need him to be better than he was.
Right.
And as long as he's playing well heading into the postseason, I feel better about this team.
Yeah, just don't be the Trey Turner that you're seeing for most of the year. Yep, I'm with you there.
And it's funny because if the Phillies win a World Series, Dave, and Trey Turner hits, let's say, 290 for the entire postseason, are we really going to care that he was so horrible for the first 4 months of the season? No, of course not.
Right. It's the same with Alec Boehm last year. Remember, he kind of went back at the fans a little bit after making a mistake. And, next thing you know, he's like, the playoff and World Series hero, and, all is forgotten. And when you're winning, nobody cares about that other stuff. So the best thing you can do is win.
What is your take on Kyle Schwarber getting his first game off tonight the entire season? I mean, is there anything more ridiculous than Kyle Schwarber had played every game this season?
Really? I didn't know that. And why?
That's my point. I'm like, wait a minute. Harper didn't play part of the year because he's coming off an injury. Real Muto's had multiple days off. Everyone's had multiple days off except for Kyle Schwarber. Like, why?
That's amazing to me. And didn't he had a really good game or doubleheader last night, right? Or yesterday?
Yeah, he had 2 home runs.
Why are you sitting him now when he finally seems to be ready to climb into the 180s? I mean,
the guy's actually hitting, and it's like, you get a day off now. Congratulations.
Yeah, that makes even less sense.
I always say baseball is a weird sport. I mean, it's like, we try so hard to understand it, but sometimes we just got to accept that we can't understand it. Like I was explaining to people earlier today, Dave, that if you go back in history, Jackie Robinson played part of his career as a 3 and 4 hole hitter. And there's nobody on planet Earth is like Jackie Robinson is a slugger, right? But his batting average was so high that they wanted him ahead of the sluggers like Roy Campanella and Duke Snyder lower in the lineup.
Wow.
So he wouldn't just be at the top of the lineup. And it makes you think, baseball, it's weird like that. Like, they move guys around for all kinds of odd reasons that don't make sense till later.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, generally, it seemed like back in those days, it was Ricky Henderson, Lou Brock, all the base stealers were the leadoff hitters. You just want to get him on and set the table, so to speak, for the sluggers. That's interesting about Jackie Robinson. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he had hit, a little bit further down the lineup. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he had like 100 RBI season one year. I forget what year it
was.
So, I mean, but the thing was, his whole career, he was batting over 300. So it was like, it was, I guess for them, they looked at it as this guy can't not hit. So it's like, we gotta put him in a position to help the rest of the team.
Oh, how about that? I'm just curious. Was Tony Gwynn a leadoff hitter? I don't remember.
I think Gwynn was 1 and 2 at different points in his career. I have to double check exactly, but if I remember correctly, he was a 1 and a 2 hitter.
Oh, okay.
At different points in his career.
That guy could hit 300 in his sleep. That was just ridiculous.
Oh yes, Gwynn to me was like the master of the 5 hole. Like he found that spot between the shortstop and the third baseman, or the shortstop and the second baseman, and it would just be like this base hit. And he would just get on base. I felt like I never saw a game where Tony Gwynn didn't get on base.
Yeah, you're probably not far off. Yep.
I'm sure there were, like, in a literal sense, but just like my memory doesn't compute it. You know what I mean? I felt like every Padres game was like, Tony Gwynn's getting on base at some point in this game.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Speaking of older players, so Dave Dombrowski was on Jason Stark's podcast. Okay. And he compared Johan Rojas to some of the guys on the Cardinals back in the 80s, saying that Rojas's ability to just, find random ways to get on base, interested the Phillies and how they don't view him as some big time power hitter, but maybe he could eventually be like a Willie McGee kind of player.
Really? That's interesting. I mean, he's been there, what, 10 minutes? He's, he's gotten off to a very good start, and it seems like he's got a lot of potential. That's a pretty big jump, though, to Willie McGee. I mean, he's going to have to show me a little bit more than what he has. I mean, he's played very well to this point, but he's got a long way to go still, I think.
Well, I have a point out before you came on. He was a AA before he came to the major leagues. And in contrast, today, Weston Wilson is making his first major league start today. He's 29 years old, and he was stuck at AAA for years. So it's like, in center field, you got a guy at 22 who skipped AAA to get to the major leagues. And next to him is a guy who's getting his first major league start, and he's 7 years older than Rojas. So, it gives you an idea this organization obviously thinks well enough of him for him to literally jump AAA.
Yeah, well, that just goes to show you how crazy and unpredictable baseball is. Like you said, you can get a 19 or 20-year-old playing next to a 35-year-old who's languished in the minors for, like Crash Davis for, he's been languished in the minors for 9-10 years, and then finally gets his opportunity. Whereas other guys, they just rise up the ladder right away. It's just, I guess it depends on the position you play, the organization you're in, that kind of stuff. But it's really interesting to see the stories and the backgrounds of some of these guys, how they got to where they got.
By the way, in 19 games, Rojas has 16 hits in those 19 games he's played.
Oh, maybe he's better than Willie McGee. Maybe he's Gary Maddox or something.
Listen, I'll take Gary Maddox too. I don't care.
There you go. Yeah. Willie Wilson, somebody. Yeah.
Well, because one of the things Dombrowski was joking about with Jason Stark is he says, in the past, we haven't been known for our defense, and now we actually have guys who can play defense in the outfield.
Yeah,
so it's
especially when Marsh gets back.
Yeah. So I mean, if you go the rest of the year with Marsh in left, Rojas in center, and then Pache is their backup, you're not doing bad there.
No, not at all. Absolutely right. Yeah. They do have a pretty good defensive team now. Real Muto's obviously struggling at the plate, but behind the plate, I mean, he's as good as it gets.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, Realmuto has caught more innings than any other catcher in baseball this year.
No kidding. Wow. Maybe he needs a day off then.
I feel like every time Realmuto gets a day off, he plays better the next day. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, he does seem to do that, right?
Yeah, it's like he gets a day off, next day he hits a home run. Gets a day off, next day he has 2 RBI. And you're just like, oh, the day off did a great job for him. And then 3 days later, you're like, man, this guy stinks as a hitter.
Hey, poor Garrett Stubbs can't get a break, huh?
I just don't think that Garrett Stubbs is good enough to be like a reliable backup catcher.
Oh, really? Oh, not a backup? Really? Huh.
Well, I mean, not as a hitter though. As a receiver, he's fine.
Yeah.
But as a hitter, I just don't think that I think they needed to upgrade that position in the offseason.
Okay. All right. I can see that. Yeah, offensively, definitely. You're right there.
Because I feel like when Realmuto's not in the lineup, you see Stubbs' name and you just chalk it up to an 0 for 4 a day, even if it's not. So.
Oh, man, that's harsh. Okay.
and on that note, I'll let you go. Dave Weinberg joining us on the Elite Acura Hotline at Dave Weinberg. 19 extra point columns over at 97.3 ESPN.com. The latest article about the past weekend's Margate Memorial races and his thoughts on the Eagles' upcoming preseason game 1. Dave, always appreciate you jumping on. Take care, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, Josh. Thanks again as always. I appreciate it. Tell everybody to check out the South Jersey Championships this Friday in Margate.
This Friday night, you'll hear it on 97.3 ESPN starting at 6 o'clock.
Oh, awesome. Very good. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks. All right. Thank you.
And Dave's appearance was on the Elite Acura Hotline during the Summer of Performance event located at Route 73 North in Maple Shade. That's where you find Elite Acura, and visit them online at eliteacura.com. All right, back to the text board. Coming up next, we got George in Summers Point, also Pat in Summers Point. Your texts and more coming up next at 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Wherever you're listening to us, Thank you for tuning in to 97.3 ESPN.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles open the 2023 preseason this Saturday night in Baltimore against the Ravens.
Up the middle. He couldn't put a touchdown.
Oh, straight ahead. Eagles radio network coverage begins at 6 p.m. with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 7. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN. South Jersey's official Eagles station.
Hey, this is Josh from 97.3 ESPN. If your air conditioning isn't keeping you cool, or if you're worried about sky-high electric bills, I recommend you call Jenkins Plumbing and Heating today about a new system from American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning or a Mitsubishi ductless system. Take advantage of financing of up to $15,000 from South Jersey Gas or Atlantic City Electric. New AC system can save you 25 to 35% on your AC bill. Call Jenkins at 609-641-6440, online at jenkinsandsons.com.
Staples presents a lesson in back-to-school savings. Your local Staples now accepts Amazon returns. So when you return your Amazon order at Staples, you receive a coupon for $10 off your next $30 Staples purchase. So you can save even more on top of huge back-to-school deals. Like right now, 24-pack Crayola crayons and marble comp books are each just 50 cents. Staples gives you more ways to save even more. 50-cent offers, limit 30 and end 8/26. Comp books in-store only. Pricing and limits may vary in-store and online. Amazon return offer in-store only. Exclusions apply.
Any trade, any trade, any trade. Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Nissan because AJ the Trade Man is in need of more trades. Used car values have been all over the map, but AJ has one mission: give you the best trade value and get you into a new Matt Blatt Nissan with 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, and 0% financing on every new Matt Blatt Nissan.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, AJ the Trade Man wants your trade. Plus, with your job clearing $350 per week, you're practically approved with 0 down and 0 interest on every new Nissan in stock. For 36 months, all backed by Matt Blatt's 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through DMAT, negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag at $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 9/7/2023. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried New Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in 1 wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. Trio North Wildwood is where casual elegance meets delectable dining. Experience the perfect blend of comfortable atmosphere and gourmet cuisine. Savor our chef-inspired dishes made with the freshest ingredients, featuring options for all tastes. Treat yourself to a night out at Trio North Wildwood and indulge in the ultimate dining experience. Reservations on Resi. Don't miss out on the taste sensation that is Trio North Wildwood. 700 New Jersey Avenue, North Wildwood. Chef-driven, quality-focused, TrioNW.com.
O'Reilly. O'Reilly Auto Parts' new Brake Vest Select Pro brand raises the bar for the best aftermarket domestic brake pads and rotors available. For vehicle-specific friction formulations, Quiet-Tech noise-canceling shims, and stainless steel hardware, choose Brake Vest Select Pro. Professional-grade brakes from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member Equal Housing Lender.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by Jenkins and Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins has got you covered. 609-641-6440. If your air conditioning isn't keeping you cool, or if you're worried about sky-high electric bills, I recommend you call Jenkins Plumbing and Heating today about a new system from American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning or a Mitsubishi ductless system. You can take advantage of financing for up to $15,000 from South Jersey Gas or Atlantic City Electric. Just call Jenkins & Sons at 609-641-6440 and find out how you could save up to 25 to 30% on your AC bill. Visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. All right. I promise I'll be over at 609-403-0973. Pat in Summers Point chimes in and says, hey, Josh, keep in mind the 1 through 3 hitters will typically get an extra at bat during the course of a game, more likely than the 4 to 9 hitters. So you do want your best hitters at the top, but I do agree the leadoff hitter specifically doesn't move the needle too much. That's from Pat in Summers Point. Yeah, Pat, and I think that what you said about the 1 through 3 hitters, I would even venture to say in a sport like the game today, you could even say the 4th hitter might be just as important. And I think that's where maybe the lineup has been confusing for me at times, because it feels like there have been times until recently that the team has Bohm buried too far down the lineup. And now that Bohm has been batting in that 2 spot, I feel like he's getting more opportunities to have an impact on the game. And that might be part of the reason why the Phillies their offense has kind of woken up lately. Their offense has been way better over the last several days than it was in previous weeks. And look, Bohm is having a great, phenomenal, fantastic season. And for a guy who's been criticized by people because he'll hit a lot of home runs, he is 8th in the National League in batting average at .294. He is 9th in the National League in RBI at 72. So you could argue that his bat is just as important as anybody in this lineup at this point. And by the way, this is a guy who has finally found a way to be better in the field, and because he's played first and third base, it's kind of impacted his ability to really find his groove defensively. But I mean, you can't discount the fact that Alec Bohm has basically turned into a very reliable defensive player at this point. So I think that Bohm, Pat, in Summers Point, is a perfect example of a guy who, at least I feel like, is benefiting from, getting more at-bats throughout the course of a game. And by the way, his on base percentage is almost 350 this year. I mean, that's just insane to me that he's getting on base that much. And all I hear about is, he doesn't hit enough home runs. It's like, man, some of you people are just never happy. That's what I think. George Summers Point chimes in and says, hey, Josh, I agree that it's good to give some guys some time off so they don't break down. But the problem is the Phillies have not clinched anything yet for the upcoming playoffs. They can easily be knocked out. Their position is a little precarious. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, George in Summers Point. George, thank you for listening to the show and chiming in. I don't know if I describe the position as precarious because they're one of the 3 playoff teams right now in the wild card if the season ended at this moment. So I think that maybe you're a little more worried than I am about them long term as a team. I tend to think of the Phillies right now as a team that is a playoff contender. I don't think of them as a team that's still trying to get into the postseason like I was last year. No one's really clinched anything yet, so I can't fault the Phillies for saying on August 9th I'm going to rest some guys. I just feel like, George Summers Point, that we as fans sometimes take this attitude of every game you have to win. Well, you can't apply football to a sport like baseball. Every week in the NFL is important on some level. A baseball season, baseball is predicated on how do you handle failure. And right now, the Phillies are 10 games above 500. They're locked in to the second wild card spot. They have a plus 21 run differential. I'm feeling pretty good about them, honestly. So you know what? Take a day off. That's how I look at it. Now, look, you're right, George. If they fall apart, then this might come back to bite them. I don't think it will. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Catch you tomorrow.
South Jersey business owners, when Eagles football returns to the airwaves this season, don't miss out. Make sure your business is a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on 97.3 ESPN. Touchdown! Every week, the NFL's most passionate fan base flocks to 97.3 ESPN Radio to listen to their favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Advertising with the Eagles can help your business connect with the consumers you are trying to reach. 97.3 ESPN is the most listened to sports source in all of South Jersey. That's what makes 97.3 ESPN such a powerful station for your business's message. So this Eagles season, don't have your business sitting on the sidelines. Be a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season on 97.3 ESPN. To be a part of the Eagles season, call Market President Mike Rubel at 609-910-5249.